everyone! Welcome to the channel dedicated to sharing the profound insights and wisdom of Andromedan contactee Alex Collier. If you're new here, you're in for a journey that expands your mind and consciousness, bringing you closer to understanding the messages from the fifth density Andromedan extraterrestrials. For those returning, we're grateful for your continued support. Before we dive into today's enlightening content, we have a small favor to ask. If you find value in the knowledge shared in this video, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to our channel, and clicking the bell icon so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps us amplify Alex Collier's message, allowing us to reach a larger audience with these vital messages. We'd also love to hear from you, so please engage with the comments below. Whether it's a question, your thoughts, or even just an emoji for the sake of engagement, every comment counts. We read every single comment, and your feedback is incredibly valuable to us. Additionally, if you'd like to support us further, consider giving a super thanks tip by clicking the heart with the $sign. This small gesture allows us to continue bringing you more of Alex's messages, unfiltered and directly from his lifelong experiences with the Andromedans. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. Number 68. Amazing, to be honest with you. I'm 68 of these. Wow. Sometimes during the webinars when we don't get to the advertised topics of discussion, that is not James or JP's fault. Okay? I'm the one you should be chewing out, not them. And that's because I deviate. And that's because I'm an independently minded person, and as we all are. And sometimes there's just other things to talk about. And occasionally that leads to other things to talk about. As Ed Sullivan used to say, and I'm dating myself here, we have a really big show for you tonight. That was a horrible impersonation. Listen, we have a lot to cover. Current stat is big today. And you're going to want to take some notes so that you can remind yourself what's going on, all right, when this incredible negative field comes down on the whole world, all right? And just know that everything's going to be okay. It really is going to be okay. You just need to know that what you're witnessing is the death of a reality that has enslaved humanity for as long as we can remember, all right? And you should pay attention to it. Everybody should pay attention to it. How it comes apart, how it dissolves, how it self-destructs. We should all be paying attention to this because this is history. This is not only history on our little planet and our small little out-of-the-way solar system, but we're doing some galactic history here. And it's important to pay attention to this because you never know where you're going to have another life. And, there's been some pretty good assignments here. Some of the homework's been pretty tough on Earth. And it's important to have gotten and to try to get these lessons and to commit them to your soul. Okay. So we don't get stuck in this again. Okay. As you know, there's a huge election here in the United States. That's next week. No idea what's going to happen. I do know that most of it is a distraction, and So I always struggle with exactly how to jump into some of these things, but let's just do this. Over the next few weeks, maybe couple of months, well, first let me tell you what's going on. As you are aware, I have talked about this planetary system that is passing through our solar system. And I want you to know, and I'm going to be perfectly clear here again for everybody, I know for a fact it's here. So I stand behind everything that I've said. I want you to understand that. I also want you to understand that there are other people, many of them dedicated to this, who have overwhelming photographic and video evidence of the reality of these other planetary bodies here. There's also a young group of kids, they're kids to me, WSO, Blue Kool-Aid, Naughty Beaver, and a host of others, and you can find out who they are on their sites, that have been documenting every day everything they can get, every scrap of information that they can get that's linked to our satellites, International Space Station, our SOHO telescopes, to everything. They are scrapping. You need to understand now that what the Navy's doing and the governments around the world are doing is they are now scraping their satellite imagery and taking away hours and hours and hours of data. So that when you look at a specific day, you might be only looking at 2 hours worth of data because they've scrubbed the rest of it, because they don't want you to see what's going on. You also need to be aware of the fact that YouTube, good old YouTube, has begun scrubbing this information off the YouTube site. Videos, information, documentaries like this, all talking about X or Copolis Nibiru. They're scrubbing these things and they're taking them off YouTube. So if I were you, I would be looking at this information so that you absolutely know, or at least you can make a decision for yourself whether the data feels real to you or not. And you're going to have to go inside. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. Okay? So go inside, take a look at this data that these kids have before it's all gone. And one of the big sites, BP Earth something, had 400,000 subscribers. They just shut him down because he was talking about a lot of earthquakes and earth changes that were going on that were not related to climate change. Okay? And, you know, the whole climate change narrative, yes, there is weather. But, you know, you got planetary bodies all over the place. You have the sun just flipping out. It is reacting. It is sending solar eruptions all over the place. We have unusual and unknown gravitational waves moving through our entire solar system. We now have people who I consider to be traitors now saying that this is all BS, that it's impossible for anything to come in or anything to come out of our solar system because of the energy sphere that surrounds our solar system. And it's very disappointing to hear some of these people say this nonsense, because that's exactly what it is. It is effing nonsense. Okay? Now, proof that it's an absolute nonsense. 8,000 years ago, the Sumerians carved in cuneiform tablets our entire solar system. How many planets we have, the colors of the planets, the fact that 2 of them lay on their sides, moons, how many moons we had at that particular time. And what's most fascinating is that they recorded all this information from the outside coming in towards the sun. 8,000 years ago. You figure that out. The Dogon tribe in Africa. How in the world for 4,000 years did they know about Sirius D, the dark star in the Sirius star constellation? We just discovered it in 1978. But they've known for 4,000 years it was there. And it goes on and on and on. You need to understand that all of these things are happening because someone wants to try to control the narrative. You see, there's something coming, something very clever, and it's probably going to be dark. It's going to be dark. But they have to control the narrative, okay? Like what Christianity did with the early writings and scrolls and tablets from Alexandria and the Palatine Library and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, and the only way you can control the narrative is if you control all the information. And you should know that because of our press today, the mainstream media all over the planet. They're whores. They have sold humanity out, and they're at the highest bidder. That's where they are. Just call it what it is. So, information's being scrubbed. People are being shut down. They are scrubbing satellite imagery of all kinds, infrared, photographic, gravitational. They're scrubbing all kinds of things to hide what's going on. That means something's coming. That also means they want to control the narrative because they want to make sure they can still control what you think. Now, the good guys, they know this is happening. They do. And I don't pretend to understand all of the thinking and all the mechanizations that are going into entrapping these people. But it is happening. It is happening, and this is probably going to be, I don't know, it all depends on how fast they ramp this up, but something's coming, right? Based on the reactions and actions of the negatives. They're creating, I mean, there's been a lot of positive movement, don't get me wrong. And we're going to get to some of that ourselves here in a minute, or a few minutes. Okay, but if you look at the media everywhere, outside of economic news, which they don't even want to talk about, it's negative field, negative field, negative field. They keep suppressing the frequency of humanity. That's what they keep doing with all this nonsense. Okay, that's the goal here, is to suppress the frequency of humanity. If you look at some of this data that these kids have had, and some of it's on the website, and when this one's over, I'm going to be sending a couple more links to James, and he said within a couple hours, he'd have it up on the site. There are a couple pieces of information that are just stunning. One of them is from the International Space Station. And you can clearly see a very large planetary body literally sitting next to us. And for some reason, the ISS, International Space Station, has a color-coded a magenta. But you can see the body, but when you lighten up the film, it's like, oh shit. It's an oh shit moment. Okay, now it's there. I mean, it's there. Now, what's interesting is people on the ground are sending these kids all this information, phone cams, phone videos, pictures, handheld cam recorders of the sky, of things happening in our atmosphere. 3 days ago, in Alaska, in the far northern hemisphere, we had the aurora borealis in the middle of the day. Okay, in the middle of the day. Now, if you think that's strange, there is also film and documentation of double rainbows. One in particular is just amazing. It's a double rainbow. On the inside rainbow, it's broken, okay? It swiggles for no apparent reason whatsoever. And what's interesting is that the outside rainbow, the colors are completely in the opposite row. They're completely opposite of the inside without the broken piece. Now, you also got pictures of the sky where you have clouds and a line literally cutting it right down the middle like it was a dinner plate, okay, or a cutting board, and then you have a cloudless sky. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Project Bluebeam. Okay, they've turned that sucker on. And they are holographically projecting images into the sky or down into the atmosphere so you cannot see what's going on out there. I have no idea how much of the sky we see right now is actually our sky and not a holograph. You're going to have to look at this data yourself, and you're going to have to come to some conclusions. You're going to have to listen to your gut. And I encourage you to do that because spiritual energy is really, really permeating humanity. Now, what's happening is that with all of this negative field, with all of this negative bombardment of data and dialogue and narrative and threats of war and nuclear this and just all this stuff, humanity, more and more and more of us are now going within. And we are no longer seeking our answers outside ourselves as we watch these structures completely fall apart that man has made, that we know aren't serving us, that we know are corrupt. As they collapse and as they continue to let us all down, more and more people are going within and seeking their information from spirit, from God, from the God source, creator, great spirit, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. What matters is your intention and where you focus that intention. That's what matters. As we are going more and more within, we are calling forth higher frequencies. Now, I don't want to beat this to death, but you already know that we are wired for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th dimensional frequencies, dimensions. Our brains are already wired to see that. Okay? And in previous webinars, we've given you that information as to how to find it and to look at the data yourself. Well, that's what we're doing now. That's what humanity is doing. Some of us are consciously aware that that's exactly what we're doing. Most are not. Most are just so fed up with the Bravo Sierra that is just everywhere in our media that they're going within. As the focus continues, as everyone continues to focus their intention on pulling down their own answers as to what's happening, we are filling this planet with light. And ladies and gentlemen, there's not a damn thing they can do about it as long as we continue to do that work. Nothing. They can't stop it. This is what we're about to see, is the last-ditch effort of a dark, dark alien human cabal that has had control of humanity for thousands and thousands of years. It's crumbling. And at some point, they're going to run out of technology to even hide any of that. It's coming. And I'm sharing this with you because I have just been reassured that everything is in hand. This is all part of the plan. We have to let them play all their cards, which is exactly what they're going to do. Because if you were a bad guy and you were absolutely cornered, you were toast, and you knew you were going to be toast, would you do everything possible to delay becoming crispy? Okay. Having a butter smeared all over you, would you do everything you could to prolong that final moment? Well, that's exactly what these clowns are doing. They're going to play it all out, and it's going to be something to see. It is. We're going to see technology we had no idea even existed. We're going to see technology. We're going to hear things, truths that are going to absolutely boggle our mind. I mean, there's some very interesting things going on down in Antarctica. There are some really interesting things going on around the North Pole as well. But none of that compares as to the discoveries that are going to be made inside each one of us. As the frequency rises and we move into fourth. Well, we're actually moving into fourth, okay? Because we're calling down these frequencies. All of us who are reaching within inside of ourselves and asking for guidance, for spirit to give us guidance. Just the lifetimes and the knowledge we had in fourth density is going to blow people away. The things that we already know, things that we've suspected, things that we thought were just intuitiveness or fancy or imagination or scientific sci-fi dreams. And most of it, if not 99% of it, is all based in a reality. Okay? And you need to know that. It's all based in a reality. It's just not this reality. This reality is this big. Fourth density is this big. Fifth density is this big. And it goes on and on and on. And all of it contains information that you already have in your DNA that you just don't have access to because the frequencies here just aren't right. And because we're supposed to have access to this information, instead of bringing all those frequencies here technologically, we, the people, we are calling that information down ourselves. Why? Because we know it. Because we are spiritual, multi-dimensional beings. And you have to remember this. Through all the crap, through all the shit, through all the hardship, whether you're homeless or you're not, you're having a tough time with family or you're not, whether you're lonely or you're not, whether you're having a hard time with groceries or you're not, whether you're having a hard time figuring yourself out or forgiving yourself or not, whatever those reasons are, whatever scenarios you have going on in your life, you have to remember this one thing. You came from a higher place, and every single one of us is seeking our higher ground. It's gonna happen. Gonna happen. We are moving towards it now. This is why the shit's coming, okay? This is why it's coming. It's the last stand. And they're gonna play it out. I don't know exactly what it looks like yet. The moment I know, you'll know. But this movement to scrub what's going on in our solar system, particularly around our sun, that's significant. That is significant, okay? Because they want to control the narrative. And you got to be suspect. I mean, you got to be suspect of anything at this point. But that's why you have to find out for yourself. You have to go within. You got to see what resonates. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it does, it does. Then you need to find out more about it. And to try to put it all in some kind of perspective. Does it mean the world's going to end? Hell no. We're just getting started. You understand? We are just getting started. We are about to be free. I mean, really, really free. We can't give up now. Absolutely, we can't give up. But you got to know that they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us. Okay? Because they're trying to protect themselves. That's all that it's about. They are trying to protect themselves from everything that they've done to humanity. From the ETs for thousands of years, to the banking cabal, to the ancient 13 royal families from the old Roman Empire, the things that they have done to humanity are despicable. All for power. All for power. And what's truly sad is that the whole time they were hurting humanity, they had the power to heal. They just chose not to. They didn't go there. They didn't want to go there. So they're going to be taken out of the equation. Okay? There is no underground bunker deep enough. Just isn't. There's nowhere to hide. And they know it. And they know it. So, understand what's happening. The spiritual, oh God, how do I phrase this? It's sometimes very difficult to take telepathic communication and convert it into words, our language, because it's so limited. But let me just say this. It has always been a belief system that we needed at least 10% of the population to consciously awaken in order for humanity to begin the process of awakening. Would you be really happy to know that we're at 28%? Humanity, of awakened humanity, is 28%. We're way past the 10. We're way past the 20. Okay? This is done. This is done. We just have to go through the motions now. And that's going to be interesting, to say the least, because of everything that's going to be coming at us. We are looking at absolute, complete philosophical changes in spirituality. Complete change in our sciences and everything that we've been taught at school, all right, because of quantum mechanics. And what you're going to find out is almost everything we learned in high school science class is useless. Okay. I'm already cleaning my closet with all that stuff. Relationships, interstellar relationships, life in our galaxy, life in our solar system, how our sun really works, the mechanics of our solar system, the history of our solar system, how almost everything got here. It was almost all brought here. This solar system that we live in was in fact constructed. Okay, we're going to learn all about this here, like soon, imminent. Okay? At the same time, they're going to be bombarding us with this negative field in order to create fear and lower our frequency. Because if they can get us to buy into their narrative, if they can get us to move from a spiritual place of calm and peace into a fear survival mode, that not only lowers our frequency, but it lowers the frequency of humanity and the planet. Okay, that buys them more time because that's what they've been feeding off of for years and years and years, forever. That's what they fed off of. We have to continue to stay grounded, to stay calm, to see things for what they are, and to listen to our guts. The more spiritual frequency that you acknowledge you have, the more you trust your own instincts, okay, your own inner wisdom, and rely on your own common sense, you're going to be good. You're going to be good. And that's what's important here, is to be good. Great change is coming. I mean, great change is coming. It's already started, but it's about to accelerate here in November. I don't exactly know why, but that's just what it is, all right? The Earth has as many people on it as it's ever had. And the purpose of that, I was just told, is that reincarnation has ended. And everyone that's here now is everyone who has been here. That's Terran. That's been a Terran. So all this talk about the Earth's overpopulated, number one, it's rubbish. It is, it's really rubbish. If we were using our resources correctly, if we were using free energy, which we have had for quite some time, if it hadn't been locked away, we wouldn't have half of the environmental issues that we have. In fact, we'd even have less than that. The only issue we need help with is nuclear radiation from Fukushima and other places in the world, the North Atlantic, where the Russians have been dumping all their nuclear waste down deep into the northern Atlantic Ocean. A lot of problems there. Nobody talks about it. Okay, but the ETs, the benevolence, they know all about it. A lot of problems there too. You're just not hearing about it. Those things we need help cleaning up. And eliminating the rest of the nuclear waste that we have here. And I am told that there is technology that will dissolve it in record time, in our linear time weeks, where all of that waste would become absolutely useless. And it would literally be just dust. We could sprinkle it anywhere and it would absolutely do no harm. So we know that that's there. The reality is there is a hell of a lot more positives than there are negatives. It's just the narrative. They just keep bombarding us with this narrative over and over and over again. Everything's wrong, and it's not. It's really not. The issue is we don't really know what's going on. If we actually did, it would have changed our perspective about everything, just what's going on around our sun. That would have clearly changed all of our perspectives, not only about who we are, but our entire relationship with the galaxy, with space, with time. All of that would have been changed already. You see, that's one of the things about meeting an extraterrestrial. You now know for a fact we're not alone. Okay, we're not all by ourselves. And that dispels thousands of years of absolute Bravo Sierra. Okay? It does. And most of them are actually very good. They're very benevolent. They really care about other civilizations and races evolving and becoming empowered and offering something, perspective, knowledge to the galactic family. You know, years and years and years ago, this is maybe 25 years ago, I did a slide presentation. And it was after something that I was shown that when a new race, when a race was invited to become part of a council, whether that's the Andromedan Council or the Pleiadian councils or whatever councils there are, and many star systems have their own. When you are invited to become a member of those councils, it's a really, really, really big deal. And what happens is that you are invited to present yourself, your race, all of your cultures, if you have more than one, okay, and any of the, or as much as life, the life forms that you have in your world or worlds, okay, depending upon your solar system, to the council and to the audience of the council. And that means those council members, the races that they represent, they are also invited to see, because not everybody is spacefaring. Many people stay in their own star systems. They may go from planet to planet, but they're not hopping all the way across the galaxy, okay, because they just don't want to. You know, they may not have that much of an interest in doing it, where there are a lot of people who do, or human beings or beings, because they're not all human, that do. They hop across the galaxy or galaxies to study life and to see what's there. Okay? They're the Magellans of their race. There's a parade. And humanity and these races are invited to this parade. Starships are sent if they can't do it themselves. Everyone is brought on board. Everything that they need, including the livestock, the life forms that they have, that they want represented. And some of these that are aquatic, they have very special tanks where they put these aquatic beings so that they can be presented. And when we're brought to the planetary system where this is to take place, it's a really, really big deal. Okay, it changes the frequency of the galaxy, because now you are there and you are represented, and all the other races that are part of this council, their consciousness now knows us. It changes the frequency. Do you understand? The more you know, the higher the frequency. Okay, the less you know, the lower the frequency. We present ourselves, or the races present themselves, and we do a parade. We walk by, we acknowledge, questions are asked, explanations regarding our different cultures would be explained by those cultures. The history of those cultures would also be explained, and then comes the life forms, whether it's aquatic or not. And we would explain that. Well, we don't even have most of that knowledge, actually, because that's all been hidden from us, okay? But we'll have it all soon. But anyway, my point is, this is something we have to look forward to, and it isn't that far off, okay? It's just not. This is a really big deal. Our greatest shortcoming has always been self-education. Okay, because we've been stuck in third density, which is a tough neighborhood. Make no bones about it. Third density is a very tough neighborhood. Okay, it's the hardest of all the physical matters to deal with because the gravity is so heavy. But it's offered so much hope because of all the programming that has just been relentless on generation after generation after generation after generation. But if we can shift our consciousness to remember that what we're really seeing is contrast, it really helps. By acknowledging what you don't want, you are now clear about what you do want. And I don't know why it's set up this way, but it is. When you look at all the programming and you look at all the contrast of how tough, how hard it's been, and you realize, okay, I no longer want this. It's very easy to shift your consciousness to what you do want. But then what you got to do is you got to just focus on what you do want. You got to make it happen. Okay? Now we've all had jobs or have jobs where we don't like what we're doing. That's contrast. Sometimes we're there and we have to be there because the pay's very well. You have a family to support. Maybe it's a young family and you don't want to rock the boat. And I totally get that. Been there. But don't let it become a negative field. Because if you let it become a negative field to you, a negative, you're only going to feed that monster. You have to figure out a way, even if it's not what you want, because it's contrast you do not want. You have to look at the positives in it and focus on those positives. And at the same time, maybe focus in a direction as much as you can to what it is you do want. But you have to be clear about what that is. No one can define that better than you. And that goes for all of humanity at this particular time on our planet. Okay? This Muslim migration that's going on all over the world, these people want a better life. You can hardly blame them. The problem is they don't know how to adjust or meld into the civilization of many of the countries they're going to. They are what's happening because of their constant programming. They are bringing their problems with them. They're not allowing themselves to let it go and become more because of the programming that they've been under. It's a tough one. This is really a tough situation to deal with because no one wants to really address the issue. And the issue is we really are one family. We really are. But not everybody wants the same things. But there has to be things that we do agree on, and there are many. The problem is, it's like yelling into the wind because of the narrative of the media on this planet. Negative field, negative field, negative field. Fear, 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 fear. It's profound. Lemuria, because I promised we'd talk about that. Lemuria was incredibly positive field. The culture was not only technological, it had a lot of very, very advanced technology, even more so than we have today. But the resonance of that civilization was spiritual. They realized technology was a tool only to be used, not to glorify, not to worship. And that no matter what you did, the work, the real work, was not just in the fields. It was not just healing people. It was not just building arks and boats and aircraft. The real work was on developing yourself. And there was always the emphasis to do that. Then comes Atlantis. Lemuria was some Pleiadian, a very large portion of Sirius A. You had Cygnus Alpha, and two other groups that I'm completely unfamiliar with. That's what made up the Lemurian civilization. And there were offspring, extraterrestrial offspring, etc., etc., etc. Which is why, we have the races, some of the races. They're responsible for that. Then Atlantis comes along. And Atlantis was very much a creation of the Nibiru. Other races participated. It was basically an open society, but it was technologically driven. The focus became on the physical and the technological. And they went way out of their way to excel and to take technology as far as they could take it. That would include crystal generation. That would include generation of energy through crystal and earth sciences. That would involve genetic manipulation, the complete tweaking of DNA and unraveling of life forms and putting them together in different ways just to see what would happen. What happened was they lost their spiritual essence. They lost their connection to spirit. And they imploded themselves, but not before they did so much damage that it hurt the planet forever. Left unchecked, we would probably do that today. Humanity, we would probably do that today. But we're not going to be unchecked. And as much as this is about giving humanity an opportunity to mature and become itself, to become who it can be, whatever, potential is one thing, reality is another. Okay, you don't fall in love with potential. You fall in love with what is. You become what is. Okay, but you see the potential. And the potential is something to strive for. Okay, it's something to, again, it's contrast. Is it something that you want? Can you achieve those higher goals, whatever they are for you? But you have to make that decision. All right? And it's entirely up to you. All those things are here with us. But we have no chance unless they get rid of this group that's here. And that's going to happen. And I can tell you this. There is a core group of benevolence that want this bunch, and they're going to get this bunch. The things that the travesties that they have caused just in our galaxy alone, they're done. and they know they're done. They're not going anywhere. So you need to know that, okay? Once they're removed, we still have to do the work. Humanity. We still have to learn to live together. We have got to come together and stop all this nonsense, this ideological rubbish, and learn to live together. To have mutual respect. Because whether they choose to mentor us or not, and I think that decision's already been made that they will, we still have to be responsible. And I mean responsible. We got to own our Sierra. You understand? We have got to own our Sierra. Or this is never going to work. And as I have shared with you 100 years ago when I first started talking, and I've read some of the words from Visayas and Mornay, they have found the ruins of very, very advanced civilizations that destroyed themselves because they forgot their original intent. We'll see. We'll see. If I were a betting man, I'm going to bet on us. I am. I think that once the dust clears and we have a firm grasp on what's really going on, that what's going to kick in for us is a maturity, the likes that many civilizations have not seen. Because we've had everything thrown at us, everything, by multiple races over our history, all of which is contained in our DNA. Okay? Once we can actually tap into all the knowledge within our DNA, we got the skinny on everybody. Okay? We do. We got the skinny on everybody. Because us or our ancestors have been the recipients of all their skinny. We're going to know. We're going to know. And we're going to be able to approach the council tables, as equals. This is what it is. This is what we know. This is how we want to be treated. Because we'll have the skinny. I should not say this, but I think that the end result, which is positive, is pretty much already done. But I'm not going to say that officially. Okay. But there's another hurdle here. There's another hurdle, and it's a biggie. It could really be a biggie. It means a lot of change, a lot of shift, very, very quickly. And I don't know how it's going to play itself out yet. And the minute I have any morsels of info, I'll make sure you guys get it right away. So how about we do an extra 5 minutes of questions? Are you guys okay with that? I'd be okay with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're really good people. Humanity is at its core is very, very good. It's very, very generous. It is very genuinely family oriented. And it can really be gentle. It really can. Who we've become as societies, the separation, the ideological wars, the hatred, that isn't really who we are at our cores. It's really not. And I know that it's really hard for us to see that, because right now we can't see the forest from the trees, because we're all mucked in it. We're all plowing through the swamps. Each country's got its own swamp, you know? And these caravans, you know, why haven't they marched on their own government and said, we need you to change? Why haven't they done that? That would have taken a hell of a lot less energy than to march 3,000 miles all the way up here to the southern border. I don't get it. Why are they letting these criminals, these crooks off the hook? It makes no sense. We have our own issues here with crooks and criminals. They're just trading one for the other. But of course, that's not the narrative, you know? That's not the narrative. Anyway, James, you going to ask the questions? Who's going to ask the questions today?
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Here I am.
I'm here.
With my Selenites. Anyway, where are we? I have a list of questions. First question is from Laura Smith. Does Morene have a wife and children?
Yes, he does. He has 18 children. And he also raises 7 of his brother's children. His brother apparently died in some kind of an accident somewhere in the galaxy. And he has taken in his partner, I don't know that they use the term wife, but his partner and her children. So he's responsible for all of them. So he's got a true Brady Bunch there. Yeah. Which is where a lot of humanity comes from, is because he's got this huge horde of his own, you know, so he has this empathy for us. It's really extraordinary. And we've talked about that in the past a lot. That's a good question, Ms. Smith. Thank you.
All right, here's from Michael H. Is America the new Atlantis?
I don't think so. No. We haven't called forth an Atlantis, and I don't know that we should. I think we should do something different. You know, we talk about Atlantis. It's spoken of in awe, in legend. You know, but at the end there, it was pretty fucked up. Sorry to be so blunt. You know, it was bad. I don't think we need to recreate that. I think we should create something new. A new civilization or a new connotation that would represent everyone on the planet. So, okay, I mean, I hate to burst your bubbles about Atlantis. Yes, it was a gorgeous city, but it isn't here anymore, is it? Okay. So, okay, JP.
From Lauren. Which race or races influenced the founding fathers and helped inspire the beginnings of the United States?
Strangely enough, it would be those from the constellation of Sirius. And I'll tell you why. The Bill of Rights and specific concepts that are held not only in the Bill of Rights or the Declaration of Independence, but the Constitution were taught to us by the indigenous people, specifically the 6 nations of the Iroquois. Jefferson, Franklin, and others spent time talking to the chiefs of those nations and how they were able to get along and manage the peace with each other. And those concepts were actually used to craft the founding documents of the United States. Now, many of the indigenous Native American people, some of their bloodline, yes, some of it's connected to China, some of it's connected to Caucasians or to the Phoenicians. Some of it's also connected to the Europeans, the Chinese. But their philosophy, their style of living, their approach to nature, all of that came from Lemuria. All of that came from Lemuria. That's who they were. That's what that was all about. And they held on to those traditions longer than anybody else did on the planet. You know, and we owe the Native Americans a great debt. They've given us so much, more than we even realize here in the United States. Legends, myth, and what happened to them was despicable, the way it was done. And I know, and it's funny, I just had this conversation with some friends, and I know that if we had to do it over again, it would be done differently, much, much differently than the way it was done the first time. But we owe them a great debt. We owe the indigenous people a great debt, and so do the other cultures and other nations, the Aborigines in Australia. The Australian people owe them a great debt because who they are helped shape who the Australian people are. And it's interesting that here in the United States, there are many people gravitating back to the spiritual essences and frequencies of the Native American people, how they worship spirit, how they gave thanks in everything and in gratitude to the Great Spirit, to God, Creator. The treating of the land, the soil, being a caretaker, taking only what you need. All of that came from them. So that's a whole other conversation too. Okay, next question. Let's go through these.
Okay. I missed that, sorry.
I said, let's just go through as many questions as we can to get through as many as possible.
Okay. What's your take? This is from Elaine in Air. What's your take on QAnon? Is it a force for good, waking people up, or is it a military political tactic of the USS administration?
My gut tells me it's a positive force. It's a very positive force.
Okay.
And,
Freddie Carroll.
Hold on. They haven't been wrong yet. Maybe a little bit on the timing, but on the events and things, they've been nailing the deep state right to the barn door. So as far as I'm concerned, from what I've seen, it's a very positive force. To this point, it's been a positive force.
From Freddie Carroll. Hi, Alex. Apparently, the banking elite were told to return $40 trillion by October the 31st. That was yesterday. That was the day before yesterday. To finance some sort of future planning agency for ending poverty, stop environmental destruction, expansion into the universe. Do you know if that money was returned? Oh, no. Thank you.
No, I don't, and I've heard that story. My take on that's a little different. And my take on it is this. The Sukarno family has control of Solomon's mines. Solomon's mines are on the island of Sulawesi. There is plenty of gold on the planet. It is not that the elite's going to be allowed to keep it, because they're not going to be here much longer. I can tell you that. Okay, they had their run, and it's done. Okay, I say that with 100% certainty that it's done. And they did it to themselves. They had every opportunity to flip and turn this thing around. And they chose power, self-preservation and power. So they're done. It's my understanding that much of the gold that was ferreted out of the United States has been brought back by special op teams and is in special places waiting to be given back to the people. Now, they would not put them in the Fed or anywhere else like that, because the Fed is still controlled by the cabal. Not for much longer, but it is. I also want you to be aware of something. During John Kennedy's reign as president, he made a deal with Sukarno himself. And if you own a silver certificate that was printed in 1963, 1964, John Kennedy was going to put the US dollar back on a silver gold standard. He had made arrangements in June to have Sukarno ship gold to the United States to pay off the Federal Reserve and kick them the hell out of here. The gold was loaded on the boat. The boat was on its way here. When Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Johnson rerouted the boat to Switzerland, and the gold has not been seen from again. And it was enough to pay off all the debts and put the United States dollar back on a gold standard in 1963. Okay? Now, if you look at a very specific executive order that John Kennedy signed, 1110, I think it is. I can double check that. I don't have it here. But that executive order puts the United States back, abolishes the Federal Reserve and puts it back on a silver gold standard. That executive order has never been rescinded. It still sits in the Federal Register. Okay? So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And as far as any nation on this planet that has a central banking consortium on it that's owned by the Rockefeller and Rothschilds, and guys, I know you're listening, those countries, the only way they're ever going to be free of this cabal is to nationalize those central banks and take back their power, take back their currency, and take back all the wealth of their own nations. The issue with one world government is that we have absolutely no idea how to manage it. We don't even know what it would really genuinely look like. We have been fed what it would look like, and it's the United Nations. Sorry. No, that isn't going to work for anybody. That's not going to work for anybody. That model is already corrupt. For those of you in Europe, just look at the EU. You think that's bad? The European Commission, you think that's bad? Parliament? Oh my God. The UN is twice as bad. So we don't know what that looks like. And we're not ready for it. We're just not ready for it. We can have representatives that represent the planet, which is going to occur, that will represent the planet with other star nations. That's going to happen. But that's different than a single government. Whatever government that is created, we need to have a Bill of Rights where the people are absolutely protected from whatever it is that we create as a planet, as a humanity. Okay, we have to know, and it has to be guaranteed that we're the ones in charge. Okay, you assist us. You are to manage our affairs internationally and intergalactically. You are not to take control of anything or anybody. Been there, done that. So that's how I feel about that. And that's, again, another whole conversation. You know, you don't ignore history. You research history, you understand history, you understand things, why things happen, and you have to understand the mindset of those who were the major players in creating not only that history, but all that havoc. And then you have to make sure that you take that contrast and you create something that is not what we don't want. And that's why it's so important to know history, because there's a lot of contrast there. There are things that worked and there are things that didn't work. And if they did work, they're still around. Okay? If they don't work, they're not. Okay, next question.
To use an Aikido metaphor, William Pepper, are you saying that the deep state, the regressive aliens or what have you, are being allowed to play their hand, their last-ditch attempt, so that their move can be used against them and thereby finish this business?
You got it. You got it. To use a chess vernacular, because I don't know about the Aikido. Checkmate? Is that? I think that's the term. Checkmate. Yes. You bet. Their arrogance is their downfall, because they just never thought that it would unravel, number one. And number two, the movement of intent to undermine what they had been doing to humanity was so slick and so covert, they never saw it coming when it hit them. You understand? They never saw it coming. And que sera, sera. And they know it. They do know it, which is why they're lashing out. They're promising violence. They're promising wars. They're all pestilence. They're promising all this stuff unless we let them win. Are you kidding? You know? No. No. They have absolutely, just look at from 1900 to today, all the world wars. They created all those wars. They instigated all those wars. The lives that were destroyed, lost, countries, ways of life, for money. For money. Paper with pictures on it, which is all a fiat currency is. It's paper with a picture on it. They did all that for money. You want to let them stay in power? You want to let them win? No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Nope, not in our lifetime. That's not going to happen. You're going to see it. Stay tuned, because it's right around the corner. It so is. It so is. It's going to be profound, folks. It's absolutely going to be profound. The release of energy, the release, the earth and humanity, a enormous weight is going to be lifted from all of us. It's going to be a freeing, and it's going to be energy, because we won't have this negative narrative, negative field. We won't have all that shit hitting us all the time anymore. It will go away with them at the same time, because they're all going to go down together. Yep. And there ain't a hole deep enough in the earth for them to hide. There just isn't. You know? Because all you can do is seal up the top. Seal them in. See ya. Okay? Next.
From Francisca Nonanman. Alex, do you have any information about the Apostle Thomas?
Who? The Apostle
Thomas,
the twin?
Thomas. The doubting guy.
No, not much, actually. Not much. I can see what I can come up with, but off the top of my head, I don't. That wasn't much of my focus. I don't even know. The issue is that most of the books in the Testament were written hundreds of years after Jesus was supposedly lived. The Vatican says that they only have scrolls and testaments from the 4th century. So that means now there's over 350 years of history that they don't have, that's supposedly lost, or was destroyed because it didn't fit their narrative. And you got to remember, the church is a government. It was first a government that then tried to become a church that then again became another government. Okay? Don't ever lose sight of that. It's very important to know. And governments are all about self-preservation. Self-preservation. So I don't know if any of the rest of that's even true. I honestly don't have an answer. I do, but I'm not going to say. I have my own opinions and feelings about that whole thing. But you need to discover that for yourself. Okay? You do. You need to figure that out for yourself. But let's just say hypothetically, it's all true. Whether he said it or not, the words were put in his mouth. These things I do, ye shall do greater, if ye have faith. That does not say I'm better. That says we're equal. What I can do, you can do. Figure it out. You are a spiritual being. You are a multidimensional being. Okay, your brain knows it. Your cells know it. We just got to get you to believe it. Okay? Okay, next question.
Hi Alex. Have you heard JFK Jr. with his wife and her sister staged the plane crash so that they can have a normal life, and that JFK Jr. is in fact Q, so he can complete his father's work for humanity?
I've heard that theory. I don't know what to make of that story. As far as faking his death, that could not have been done without Navy SEALs. And if it was known that there was going to be a hit on Kennedy and his family, his wife, I could see where the Navy would want to get involved and protect one of their own. Because his father was a PT captain, commander, PT 109. Was also a naval officer, served with distinction. I would think that they would want to take care of their own, and that they would have some part in this It makes sense to me. Now the question is, who put the hit? Who would put the hit out on them that they would have to fake their death? To me, that's more the question. Who would do that? I already have an idea. Somebody wanted his Senate seat. And someone who has no conscience whatsoever and who will say and do anything to get anywhere that she wants. But we'll have to save that. I have a feeling that if that information's true, that the acknowledgement of all that is not far off at all. Not far off at all. It would certainly be a stunning twist if he were still alive. It really would. That would be pretty spectacular, to say the least. But I don't know. Okay, JP. You have about 9 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Over to the back to the dark side. What was happening? This is from Lauren. What was happening with the Nazis and Dracos on Sirius? And if that's a specific enough question for you.
Are you referring to Ceres? Ceres? Not Sirius, the dog star, right?
Oh, yeah, he spelt it Sirius, but I think it's Ceres. Is it Ceres? CRES, the asteroid.
Yes.
There's a TV show that's come up about that.
Yeah. Well, they built a mutual base, and there was a mutual exchange of information, technology, and I want to say that there was, I've heard that there has been a genetic exchange. When the Nazis took off, they took women from other countries with them. You're aware of that, right? That it wasn't just the military and the scientists. They took hostages with them, in case you didn't know that. Boatloads, shiploads of women were taken with them, thousands. So that's dark. That is really, really dark energy there. There's no light. There's no light in any of that conversation. The things that were done to people from Earth that were there, used as slave labor. I don't know that anybody really needs to know how dark that was. I don't know if it would serve anybody to even know how dark that whole thing was. Okay?
Mark G, do we change gender during reincarnation?
Can we?
Do we? Have we? I mean, if you're saying that reincarnation is coming at an end, this is where it stops, isn't it?
Yes, we choose different life forms, different sexes. I've not been a man my entire life, not all of my lifetimes. I mean, I've not forever just been a male. In order to have perspective, you need to choose a different form, and the more times you choose a different form, the more perspective you have on how others think and feel. Having been a woman in other lifetimes hasn't helped me at all as a male in this life. You're out. a woman. But, I do know that my DNA remembers. So, it's what it is. I haven't been an elephant. I haven't been a toad, at least not that I'm aware of. So, but yeah, we choose different forms, different lifetimes to gain perspective, whether it's on this planet or other planets. Because it's all about education of self. It's all about self-education and acquiring knowledge. That's our homework when we drop in and fall into physicality is to self-educate. Otherwise, what's it for?
So, from Michael H., carrying on from that, can the benevolence, or what will happen, help us access our DNA memories? Or, how does that happen? If that's going to happen.
My understanding is that that's going to happen with frequency. Where they're going to guide and mentor us is how to interpret frequency and interpret the visions and the knowledge that we see and that we have. Now, that can manifest itself in a multiple of different ways. Are they actually going to unlock our DNA and say, here you are? I don't know about that. Will they put us all on a table like I did when I was 8, and they put that little cap on my head, and I saw the monitors and I saw all these different lifetimes? They could do that. They could very well do that. And then you would see yourself for yourself. They could very well do that. Do I have hard knowledge if that's what they're going to do? I don't. But I know that their idea, their concept of mentoring is all inclusive. You start at the bottom and you build all the way up. You build a solid foundation. That would be knowing who we are. That would be included in knowing who we are. Okay? You start at the bottom and you build a firm foundation, a solid planetary race that has absolute knowledge of who in fact they are and what their history is. And then you build on that. You build on all those strengths that everyone has, because then you form a society, because you collectively put all those strengths together and you build a society. That's all part of the mentoring. These races, they've been doing this for millions of years with their own offspring. Okay, that's the law of consistency, which we have talked about in the past. Each generation has the knowledge, all the knowledge of the past, moved to their present, and then they combine the present with the knowledge that's coming from the future that they continue to create and build. That's the law of consistency. They don't undermine. There's no brain drain. Okay, everybody moves forward together and advances on all levels together. Okay, that's solid. And that's what we should be doing. And that's why this bunch has to go, because they've done everything possible to undermine humanity. We got one more question.
One more question. Here's another religious sort of thing. Are they trying to pull off the second coming, or are they? I'd reword that to say, are they still on course to try and make a fake second coming?
They could, but I don't know if that's what it is. It could be a staged alien invasion. It could be a lot of things. It could be the Earth is going to be destroyed, and you all need to get on this starship and go with us, or at least some of you, where we can use you as a hostage to get through the quarantine. Could be any of those things. I just know that this particular move of beginning to scrub the information means someone wants to control the narrative. That's the modus operandi. That's what they've always done. So, but again, like I said earlier, if I get any more intel on that, you guys will know right away. All right? We may have to start going to one a month. I'm working on my schedules, and you guys will know right away. I can't make this a business. It has to be donation. And I've been called on it, and I promised I would never make this a business. James, this is a business, and he's been doing this on his own dime since the very beginning. And, he deserves, all the kudos in the world for doing this. JP, this is his passion. This is like a day off for him because, Wolf Star Radio and all the stations, all the channels, all the scheduling, you either love it or you don't do it. And I know JP loves it. So I feel very privileged to be working with this team of gentlemen. But for me, I can't make this a business. And that's tough. That's always been tough. But it's what it is. It's what it is. I gave my word and I'll be keeping it. So it looks like we'll be going to one a month for a while. Okay, guys, I love you. For those of you in the United States, go out and vote on Tuesday. And positive field. Create positive field. Okay, don't get drawn into all the nasty.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you found it insightful, please like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future updates. If you have any questions relating to today's video, please also leave them below. We read all the comments and take on board what our viewers have to say about Alex Collier's work. Remember, your support helps Alex Collier's knowledge and the messages from the Andromedans reach more people. If you'd like to support the channel even more, you can give us a super thanks tip by clicking the heart icon with a $sign. It really helps our team bring you more content. Also, be sure to visit alexcollier.org to sign up for our regular email newsletter. It's the best way to stay updated with the latest news, exclusive content, and upcoming live webinars. For the latest insights from Alex Collier, check out alexcollier.live. And if you want to explore over 250 past webinars, head over to alexcollier.tv. Thank you for being a part of this journey and supporting Alex Collier's work. We couldn't do this without you, and we're genuinely grateful for your support. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the vast mysteries of our universe. If you would like to see the Andromedan contactee Alex Collier live via video stream, we hold a live online seminar every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. For more information on upcoming live webinars, please visit alexcollier.org.